Hey everyone, so we're back, and this time I've got Salena Walker with me. Now, I've known Salena for many, many years, too many years that I don't want to count them. And when I first met Salena, she was embarking on her nutrition training and working towards healing herself of pernicious anemia, which it was absolutely amazing to witness the change and the growth and the knowledge and her completely heal herself. And that was many years ago now. And so for me, when I got a diagnosis, I had an amazing friend and qualified person who had healed themselves to turn to, because not only is Salena a nutritionist, she's a naturopath and a herbalist, so she has a lot of tools under her belt. And it can be overwhelming when you get any diagnosis of anything. So what we want to talk about today is really focusing on preventing those diagnoses and what we can do to kind of live a healthy lifestyle. So welcome, Salena. It's so lovely to see you.
Hi, Rach. Thank you for having me on. It's always lovely to have a chat with you.
Yes. Oh, we just go for hours, so we're going to be really boundaried today and not gone for too long. So um I did Selena's, what was back in those days, it was called Health on a Plate, like a basic nutrition. And I already thought I was pretty healthy. I'd been vegetarian, kind of vegan on and off for many years. Um, Gluten-free now and again for, if I got gut issues, I'd be like, oh, cut out the gluten. But when I did this course, there were so many basics that I just never entered my head. So do you want to talk about, what are this, I know there's so many things we could talk about, but the real basic things that people can do to just start on a path of health.
Yeah. I say the very first thing is to meet your body where you're at. Everyone starts at a different stepping stone, so you need to start from where you are at. And if you make too many changes too quickly, it's a lot for your body to take on. So where you will be starting from is somewhere different from the person next to you and the person next to you. So never compare. That's the first thing. Never compare your own healing journey. But I always like to keep things simple. So I always come back to the phrase, you are what you drink, eat, think, and excrete. And just start looking and working with those individual elements, really. So the very first thing, it's you are what you drink. And I'm always amazed when I sit with clients, which I do on a weekly basis, sitting with clients, and they say, oh, yeah, I drink lots. And then I say, okay, well, what do you drink? And they might say something like, oh, I drink, 1.5 or 2 liters. And I say, oh, pure water. Oh, no, some of that's in tea and some of it's in coffee. And before I know it, that 2 liters is coming further and further and further down. And when you think every cell in the body needs water, some of the cells are 90% water, you can see very quickly how the cells aren't performing to their best ability. So the very first stepping stone for everybody is looking at water. Because the solution to pollution is dilution. So we need to dilute those toxins. Yeah, as me and
Sitting
Richard.
here, sitting here with my water.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Sat
tick
there with
that
your
box.
water. And when I'm teaching the course, we spend a whole morning just on water, and people are like, "Oh, water's water, isn't it?" And there's so much you can chat about water, but I always say keep it simple, and the simple step is just get it in. Just
Yeah,
get the water in. So a nice thing for everyone to start with is 4 times a day, have some water. When you wake up, have a glass of water. Just before lunch, have a glass of water. Just before your evening meal, have a glass of water. And in the evening, make it luxurious, put it in a beautiful glass and have another glass of water. And you're just working on slowly increasing that glass size until you got your 4 pints a day.
yeah. And I found actually buying a pint glass, and I got one of those lovely little tools that you can engrave and make it look pretty, so I don't feel like it should have beer in or something. It's
Yeah.
like feels weird having a pint glass, so make your pint glass pretty. But yeah, I mean, it's even water's a minefield, isn't it? I mean, if you're talking about filters and all of that kind of thing. But I mean, Selena and I both got a Berkey filter, and we're quite happy with our filters. And if you've got loads of money, you can go crazy on mad filter systems. But I think you're right, isn't it? It's like basic, just get some water in. And I was talking to someone recently, and they said, oh, I pee enough as it is with the tea that I drink. And I had to kind of remind them that tea's a diuretic and it makes you pee.
Yeah, and also tea is also astringent as well, so it'll dry you out. At every glass of tea you're having, well, cup really, every cup of tea, you're going to take a cup of water for it to go through. And it's remembering that if you haven't drunk lots of water for ages, we've all probably had that plant we've sadly forgotten about in the corner of our room, and you put water in it because you've forgotten about it for ages, and it just trickles straight down to the saucer because the soil is so dehydrated. It doesn't, it's almost forgotten how to absorb that water. But if you then trickle that water into that plant every few days, the soil will start absorbing. And we're exactly the same. So yes, we will pee loads to start with because our body's just using it to flush through the toxins. It's getting very excited, finally giving it what it needs. And then after a period of time, your internal soil will start to hold on to that water again. So it's not forever. And let's be fair, peeing a bit extra, feeling healthy, I think I'd rather feel
Exactly,
healthy.
yeah. And I love that analogy. It's such a good one because it's absolutely true, isn't it? We've all seen that where we water a plant and
Yeah.
it's like, oh, it's not absorbing anything, which is why your plants need a little plate underneath them. So after water, it's kind of
Yeah, so we come
food,
on to the next one
food,
then. You are what you eat. And again,
very
very
emotive.
emotive, very emotive. And again, I'd spend a whole day on a course with people with this, or a few evenings if I was doing it in evening classes. But I want to keep it simple because the idea of me chatting to you now is so everyone can have a takeaway. Not a takeaway food, that is. Everyone can have takeaway points. The main thing with food is to eat food. So what do I mean by that? Well, I mean eat food as nature intended. We should be eating food that's come from a garden, not necessarily our garden, but it should have come from the soil. So the very first step I always ask people to do is to only eat food that they could produce in the kitchen. Not necessarily you have to produce it in your kitchen, because I know some people, it's not possible to do it all yourself. But look at the packets you've got of products, turn it over. Do you know what all those ingredients are? Can you
Mm.
pronounce them? If you're me, you probably can't because I'm not good with those long words. But can you pronounce them? Do you know how it was made? And if you just bring everything back to eating food, not too much, not too little, and mostly plants. That's really, really simple guideline. And again, focusing on eating as nature intended and eating the right amount. I see more people these days that are under eating than overeating because I obviously attract people that are interested in health. And I think some people that are interested in health can get really into fasting, really into this diet, this fad, that fad. And before they know it, they've cut out loads. They're not getting the right amount of nutrients and not getting the right volume of food as well. So remember, while society focuses on we shouldn't eat too much, we also need to eat the right amount. So just to summarize, what I would say is eat food, real food, not too much, not too little, and mostly plants. And why do I say mostly plants? Well, mostly plants because the plants are what give us our phytonutrients, our antioxidants, our vitamins, and our minerals. So you want to aim to have a variety. They say these days we should be having 30 varieties a week just for our gut bacteria. But I say eat a rainbow. If you eat a rainbow on each plate, and that's a rainbow of vegetables, not all those crazy colours you get artificially. You eat a rainbow of veggies, that's going to give you a good balance of your vitamins, your minerals, your phytonutrients, your antioxidants.
And I remember you saying this to me when I was with Dorothy, and we actually did a whole kind of made it like a game of like every day writing down all the fruits and vegetables we were eating and to see if we were hitting that 30. And it almost became a bit of a competition as well of like, oh, I eat more vegetables than mum does. It was just like, okay. But it sounds like a lot because I remember in the old days it was like 5 fruit and veg a day. It's like
Yeah.
you just eat 5 apples and get away with it. But it has to be that variety, doesn't it, to get everything we need for the body to be in a state of health.
Yeah, exactly. And remember, it's variety, so it's not types. So I remember once for my online community, Nourish, I done a one recipe 1 month. I done how to get 30 varieties in one salad, so in one meal.
Wow.
And we've done it because if you think about, if you were having a salad and you might have 5 different leaves, that's 5 varieties. You
Okay.
might then have some hummus. You might have some butter beans, say, in it. You might have some sunflower seeds, some pumpkin seeds. You might have some herbs on top. Quite easily, that's coming up to 12. You could then add other varieties of vegetables. So you might add some, say, beetroot, grated beetroot. You might have some sauerkraut. So it's all the individual varieties. If you like mushrooms, think about all the varieties of mushrooms. If you bought a wild mushroom mix, you could easily have 6 or 7 varieties there. So it's the variety. So it's not that it's 30 different vegetables. It's 30 different varieties.
Yeah. And I think that makes it feel so much easier. So thank you for saying that. So what comes next?
So we've said you are what you drink, you are what you eat. So the next step is you are what you think.
Yeah.
And that's a massive one.
Yeah,
Mass.
stress. I mean,
Yeah.
stress is a big one, and it's like what you let into your life, isn't it? Sort of, are you being bombarded? We're all being bombarded with social media and the news, and it just comes at us. It's
Yeah.
not, if you think back to when we were young, we just didn't have the array of stuff coming at us, which can set our minds into overwhelm.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And it's remembering that, going back to that, you are what you drink. As soon as you're stressed, you're dehydrated. Stress dehydrates you. As soon as you're stressed, every molecule of cortisol gobbles up a molecule of vitamin C, plus loads of other things. If you're stressed, your vitamin Bs are going through the roof. You like Pac-Man going along, gobbling all your vitamins and minerals every time you're stressed. So the key thing is to not be stressed, but easier said than done.
Yeah,
And remember that stressed spelled backwards is desserts. So that's what lots of people go to when they're stressed. So
yeah.
again, meeting your body where it's at. And the very first step is looking at, okay, well, what am I stressed about?
Mm,
Because you can't change well, great if you can change your life, but we're not all in the luxurious position that we can just throw everything up in the air and change. But what we can change is our reaction. You can't change whether someone's going to come into your life that day and have an argument with you. You can't change whether your boss is going to come in at work and be really horrible to you, or you're going to go home and your partner's in a mood. You can't change those situations. So the only thing that we have control over is our reactions. And that's what we need to look at. And the first step is just look at your reactions. You can't change until you look at what you're trying to change.
yeah, yeah. And I think we've both kind of read lots of self-help books. Wayne Dyer was a big one with that, wasn't he? He's kind of like, we're the only thing that can change. If we don't
Yeah,
change ourselves, nothing else changes. And
yeah,
yeah, your reacting to things. I mean, I do look back and think I'm so much more chilled than I used to be.
yeah, definitely,
I
definitely.
kind of go, do I even need to react to this? It's like one of those questions of like, is this anything to do with me? Do I do, or just leave them to it? Partner in a mood, just leave it to it. Come back when you're feeling a bit better.
Exactly. And it comes back to that Wayne Dyer saying, doesn't it? If I change the way I look at things, the things I look at change. I
That was
love
what I
that
was
quote.
grasping for.
Yeah, I always come back to that quote. If I change the way I look at things, the things I look at change. Because me and Rachel could go somewhere for the day. I could be like, oh, what an amazing day we've had. And then another friend could chat to us and they wouldn't even know we'd been together, because our experience of that day would be totally different,
Yeah,
because we are looking at it with our own individual eyes. So it does come back to that. If I change the way I look at things, the things I look at change. And I always come back to one of Rachel's sayings as well: not my monkeys, not my circus.
yeah. I don't need to get involved.
Yeah,
Not my drama.
yeah.
Such a good one. Such a good
Definitely,
one.
definitely. And it
So I mean,
is just getting tools, isn't it? It's just getting tools. Like
yeah,
Rachel said, me and Rachel, when we get together, we're always like, have you read this book? Have you read that book? Because there's so much out there, which can be overwhelming. So I would say, find your teachers rather than have 10 books at the side of your bed. You might have 10 books, but choose 2 of them that really, tickle your soul and
yeah.
allow you to do the work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember just, sitting down with you, or you suggesting that I just sit down and make a list, and actually looking at the list of like things that stress me out, things that I could drop, things that I could delegate, people always want to help. It's like that's the other thing, is like learning to ask for help and get
Mm.
support in whatever way you need it for your own life. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
think that's a massive one, what you've just said there, Rich, because, I generally see people and I wish they'd come to me 2 years earlier,
yeah,
because we always ask for help when we're at the point of bursting, don't we? We're not willing to ask for help when we actually need it. And that can be, I have clients and they might contact me 2 weeks later and they say, I've got a really bad chest infection. It's been going on for 2 weeks. And I'm like, why didn't you contact me when you had that first tickle in your lungs? And then people that I deal with, they've had maybe really bad bowel issues, and I speak to them and, oh, I've been dealing with this since I was 15 and I'm seeing them when they're 45.
wow, yeah.
So it's asking for help as soon as we can. And, this is something I'm still working on. I'm not good at that.
I think all of us, it's a lifelong process, isn't it? Because we're just brought up in a society that tells us to be self-sufficient and sort it out ourselves, or go to the doctors and take a pill. So, this is about looking at your life holistically and kind of seeing what you need, what changes you need to make. And you have to be willing to make those changes as well, because that's the thing that, Salena and I have both worked with people who just don't want to make the change. They just want the easy pill. So give me the easy pill. And it's actually so much more rewarding when you can turn around and go, well, I did this myself. I changed my diet. I started drinking more water. I started going for walks and doing meditation, and
Yeah. Yeah,
look at my
exactly.
life.
Exactly. And I get the first thing I do when I get emails, every week I get emails, can I book an appointment with you? Can I book an appointment with you? But lots of those emails say, this is what's wrong with me. I want to know what I can take. And the very first thing is I write back to them and I say, it's not what you can take, it's what you can do. And if you're
Yeah.
not willing to look at that, then we not aren't the right partnership for your healing journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we've done water, we've done food, we've done a bit of head stuff.
Yes, so the next one, you are what you drink, you are what you eat, you are what you think, and you are what you excrete.
Oh, my favorite topic.
And I think again, each one of these is such a massive topic. I could do a whole week course on each of the individual ones, but you are what you excrete. That's looking at all your routes of elimination, because our body is set up to eliminate toxins. And when I say the word toxins, I'm not always talking about the same thing. That could be something you've eaten, something you've drunk, something you've thought. Our body doesn't know the difference. It's just toxicity. And if something comes into our body, it has two options: get it out, ideally, or wrap it up and store it for later, which creates symptoms. So
Mm,
if we can focus on getting things out so they can flow in and flow out, then that's better. So our body has natural systems, like we urinate, we pees out some toxins. We defecate, we poo out some toxins. Things like we sweat, we perspire, sweat it out. Other things like even breath, breathe it out. And then for women, menstruation once a month, and for men, ejaculation. That's our natural routes of elimination. And then when we zoom into the body, we have a main route of elimination. So when toxins leave the cell, they like to jump into our lymph glands. And if we haven't done that very first step of hydrating, then it's going to hit porridge. And then we get enlarged lymphs, which we've all experienced when we've been unwell. But ideally, because you will all be beautifully hydrated, because you would have listened to step one, it will go from your cell to your lymph to your blood to your liver. And then the liver has a bit of a board meeting with the kidneys, with the skin and the bowels, to decide where the toxins are going to go, but mainly into the bowels. So when I'm working with clients, again, meeting their bodies where they're at, it's pointless starting to open up areas of the body if they aren't hydrated, because it's just going to be moving sludge around, not getting it out. So the very first step is always hydration. And then it's looking at, okay, well, where are they blocking routes of elimination? Something simple these days. How many people use antiperspirant?
yeah.
Blocking perspiration. Anything that's anti is blocking the natural course of things.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's even kind of, there's so many, you get a cold and you just go and get some tablets that kind of, and actually, I loved what you said on one of the courses was, that snot is your body wrapping up the
Yeah.
stuff that it's trying to get rid of. It's like little Christmas presents coming
Yeah,
out, you know.
yeah, your mucus is your Christmas wrapping paper for your toxins. It wraps it up and gets it out. So when we turn into those snot monsters, it's actually a good thing. I always say I've got a good cold, not a bad cold, because it's good. It's getting those toxins out. It's wrapping it up and getting it out. And like what you said there, you run straight for the tablets. If someone has diarrhea, how many people run for the Imodium? Well, you're having diarrhea because the body's trying to get stuff out. And then the Imodium's acting like a plug, really, plugging it back in. So then the body has no option than to wrap up those toxins, store them for later. Build up a storage of toxins is going to create symptoms. So we
Mhm.
need to each look at our lives. Okay, where are we stopping toxins coming out? Am I allowing myself to sweat? Have a sniff. What does it smell like? If you're toxic, it'll smell toxic. But get to know your own routes of elimination. Because when things change, color changes, smell changes, you'll then know, oh, something's going on in my body. So it's great to know that. And, there's all kinds of things. As a naturopath, I work with clients to really open up routes of eliminations with things like castor oil packs, enemas, fasting. And that's all depending on what's going on in that person. But there's also steps. So you can't, it's a marathon, not a sprint. You can't learn to run before you can learn to walk. It's always doing things in the right order.
Yeah, absolutely. Like number one, drink your water. It's really obvious once you explain how the body works like that. It's like, oh yeah, it's really obvious that we need water.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And one of the things that, I always encourage people when they get a diagnosis to find a nutritionist or, someone that they can work with that's on their side. But I mean, for me, because it's overwhelming, like you said earlier, it's like all the different fad diets and all the different things that, and we can look at, someone who's maybe had a similar illness to us and we go, we're just going to do exactly what they did. And that's not going to work because your body isn't theirs. And although, wouldn't it be easy if we could just replicate things like that? We're all different and our bodies are amazing. And, I went to see Salena and we sat down and we made a plan. And actually the relief that I felt to just be told what to eat was huge, because it is a minefield of, one person. I remember watching some of the Truth About Cancer videos, and like one guy healed himself from eating loads of pig's liver. And I was just like, well, I'm not going to be doing that. I've been vegetarian for many. And then you're kind of like, well, what's going to work for me? And you can get into a complete panic. And I think just, having someone alongside you that can support you with whatever it is you need. But, let's not get to that point. Like Salena said, you have a tickly cough or, a little thing, sort yourself out. And one of the things that I love, the fact that you've had this whole journey, as I have, of kind of like doing lots of one-to-one clients and then starting to teach. So you've got your lovely online group and you've got the courses that you run and other online courses that are easy for people who aren't local to access. So it's becoming easier to get the information that we need, I think, to stay healthy. So, I mean, yeah, and Selena's very good at empowering you. I mean, I did her herbal training last year or the year before. And, when an issue came up, she was just like, well, you know what to do, Rach. You can make these tablets. You can make your own tinctures. You can make... It's just like, yes, actually, I can.
And I think that's the thing, it's all about empowering, because, the current setup where we go to the doctor, we get given a prescription, we come away. It's a plaster on whatever situation you've gone to the doctor about, but also it's not empowering. It's like, you can't do anything. You've got to keep going back. And there's lots of other therapies that are like that. You have to keep booking appointments and coming back. But when you work with a naturopath's role is a teacher. My role is to pass on whatever wisdom I've learned from another naturopath to pass on to you, so you have the wisdom, so in the future you know how to heal your own body, because we all have that knowledge. And I grew up in the South Wales valleys, and in a very deprived time. I mean, it's still quite a deprived area, but it was even more deprived growing up there in the 80s with the miners' strikes. But how people got through it is because people knew how to grow their own vegetables. People knew how to grow their own herbs. You know, I'd go to my great nan's, all her vegetables was out of garden. You'd turn up with a bad stomach, and before you know it, you had a cup of mint tea in your hand from the garden. So it was they got through it because they were empowered with the skills to still be able to eat healthy and still be able to produce their own medicine and food. But I think we've come away from that. So what I feel my role is to bring everyone back to that, to realize that you have the skills that you need, because it can be simplified. You know, getting the good stuff in, get the bad stuff out, you'll be healthy. It is that easy. But we sometimes need to reskill, relearn, because at one point we did know it, relearn how to get the good stuff in and how to get the bad stuff out. And I would say these days, you know, we've talked about overwhelm, but these days with social media, you go on there and every day there's a different celebrity, different guru telling you this and that. But a lot of people online, they're not qualified in anything. They've never had to sit with people, you know, 20 people say a week, or 30 people, however many people different practitioners sit with. And then a month later, those people come back. And if what you've said hasn't worked, you've got to deal with them. A lot of what you see online is they've gone through a healing journey and they've found out what works, and then they think that's going to work for everybody. But it isn't that case. It's a case of working with people that have gone through training, you know, gone through clinical hours, had observations, so they are trained to work with individuals and meet your body where it's at.
Yeah, I love that phrase. It is what it is, isn't it? It's like we can't all be put into a box, and you know, you can't all eat this. And yeah, and it is overwhelming when you see, you know, suddenly there's this whole vegan movement, but they're pushing all the really processed vegan food, and then there's the meat movement that are pushing all the, you know, and it's just simplify. And actually what I found when I simplified my diet, like you said, just come back to eating what can be grown, I don't have to go to the shop so much. I mean, I'm blessed that we both live near organic farms. We can get our organic food if we're not growing it. Selena's, excuse me, got an amazing garden with so much stuff growing in there. It's really inspiring. But that's the other thing, you know, you don't have to have a garden. You can grow herbs in pots on your window ledge. I mean, you know, we both read books about longevity and health, and one of the things that all those people had in common that lived the longest was they ate wild food. They added herbs. They went out and they, well, you know, while they were walking, maybe they were munching on a bit of pennywort or a bit of sorrel. You know, we can gather from nature all the time, and you know, Mother Nature is supporting our health. You know, she provides everything we need, and our body, like you just talked about those routes of elimination, our body knows what to do. You know, we can't help but live in a soup of toxicity. It's what the world has created, but we can help our bodies to release it by drinking the water, by eating well, by what we're putting in, what we're letting go of on all levels.
Exactly. And I think it's just remembering it's not going to happen overnight. You know, I sometimes see people and they have a whole list of problems, and then they come next month and they're expecting it to be all okay. But actually, when I sit down with them, this is better, this is better. And they don't look at that. They look at, I've still got this problem. And I say, well, how long have you had this problem? And they say, oh, since I was a kid, so, you know, 30 years. And I say, do you really think it's going to change in a month? It takes time. And I always like to describe a healing journey. It's like you've gone on a walk and then suddenly you come to a big river, and you can't jump across that river, but you can see across that river there's a beautiful wildflower meadow. And that's you healthy. That wildflower meadow is representing you healthy. But you're thinking, how am I going to get there? And then you look at the river and you can see these stepping stones. And each of those stepping stones represents a new stage in your healing journey. Maybe people you're going to be with, or what you drink, what you eat, what you think, what you excrete. But some of those stepping stones you're going to go on, they're going to make you feel solid, strong. You can see you working towards it. You're getting towards that wildflower meadow. Other ones you'll step on, they'll be really wobbly, and you'll have to come back a bit, find a different stone. But each stone is taking you further forward, and you will get to that wildflower meadow. And it's just remembering that it takes time. But think about, by the time you get to the other side of that river, how many tools you're going to have in your basket. So you'll always be able to keep working on yourself, and you'll always be able to help you and help your loved ones.
That's a really beautiful analogy, Salena. I love that. And it's right. I mean, there's often wobbly steps along the way where we have to kind of go back and, breathe, take stock, what needs changing, what needs to be done differently. So yeah, thank you. I'm amazed that we've managed to fit kind of all these, really basic stepping stones, but for some people it will be an eye-opener that, they're actually they're very simple tools that we can use. And I know, lots of people kind of go, oh, I've got to eat salad all day or whatever. You have to become the queen of dressings. It's like what you put on your food, beautiful dressings, tahini and sesame oil and lemon juice and lime juice and orange juice dressing. It's get excited about your food. And that's one of the things Salena did with me. She was just like, get really excited about what you're eating. And I remember bringing Dorothy to you as well, and she was just like, oh, I don't like breakfast. It's like, how can we get excited about our meals? And especially as parents, when we're constantly like, oh, what are we going to cook? It's another meal we've got to make. It's like, get those cookery books that are going to give you inspiration, or watch there are plenty of amazing nutritionists like Salena, you've got a whole catalogue of YouTube videos with amazing things on there. It's not hard these days to make your food fun and interesting and tasty. And I think that's the main thing, isn't it? It's like you've got to feel happy with what you're eating. I mean, I love my juices. I love discovering new juice recipes. I discovered one this week, which was just adding some pineapple in with a carrot and orange, and I was like, wow, that just the flavors, so it's about being excited about your health and your food.
Yeah, it's getting excited because people always think with nutrition, oh, I'm going to have to cut out this, I'm going to have to cut out that. And I say, well, I'm not going to tell you to cut out anything. It's your choice. You can choose to let it go once you've had the education and the understanding. It's totally your choice. You can choose to let it go, which is, again, a very different energy from, oh, I have to give that up, saying I choose to let go. But I always say everyone should leave a nutrition course or leave a consultation excited about what they are going to be introducing, rather than depressed about what they have to take out. It's
Yeah,
all
I think
about reinventing your life.
focusing on that, isn't it? Focusing on the good stuff that you're adding in, and actually what ends up happening magically, the bad stuff just goes by itself because you actually don't want to eat it anymore. So
Yeah.
yeah, and I remember being really surprised that I like kale better than I like chocolate. No, I don't. That's not a good
I was
example.
going to say, I'm not going to agree with that, Rich.
Crisps, give me kale over crisps. It's like, yeah, it's finding that your taste buds change as well. It's just, you just become more used to, like these days, if I eat out or something and I eat something that's processed, I can really taste the high salt in it and the kind of, yeah, the additives, and yeah, that excretion thing the next day. You're like, oh god. Our bodies are telling us what's good for us and what's not. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and it's remembering, when we sleep in at night, as we sleep in, our bodies are using all the raw ingredients we've given it that day to repair, renew, and make us. So as you're going to bed, have a moment. What raw ingredients have I given my body this day? Am I going to be making great cells, or am I going to be making rubbish cells? And it's that simple.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good way to end, I think. Thank you so much, Salena. Thank you for your time. It's
You're
been
so
really
welcome.
lovely to talk to you. You're so knowledgeable. So I'm going to be putting some links for Salena's info and websites, and check out her YouTube video because there's so much on there, not just about nutrition and food, growing food, you know, natural hair dyes. There's all kinds of stuff on there. And yeah, just stay in touch and let us know how you're doing. And yeah, there'll be links. All Salena's links will be under the video. So thanks, Salena.
Thank you, Rach.